So just when we thought we had all the new information regarding Monster Hunter Wilds, a recent dev interview dropped a bombshell of new details about the changes that players, including myself, were in the dark about when it comes to the game. This includes optimization, a rework of the decoration system, online lobbies, questing, speedrunning, and get this, the possibility of a 15th weapon. This interview is jam-packed with a ton of information, so grab yourself a coffee, sit back, and let's dive right on into this one. Before we dive into the video, just keep in mind this article was translated from Italian. While there will be some translation errors here and there, we should be pretty capable of understanding what's going on, but just know there may be a little things off here and there. I'll have this link down in the description so you can read it yourself, and if you are enjoying the Monster Hunter Wilds content, consider leaving me a like and subscribing to the channel. That helps me quite a bit. And let's start off with the optimization. We would like to start off with the most frequently asked question from our community, starting with the issue of optimization. Do you want to reassure the public about the performance of Monster Hunter Wilds? The devs respond with, there's not much to say about it. We're just entering the final stages of development the last 6 months. What we're working on now is general optimization of the title. As such, we don't have any specific details to mention, but we want to reassure players that we're working very hard to optimize the experience as best as possible. Now, this is kind of goes back to the last two videos where I talked about optimization and performance. It's not really that good to talk about that because, again, the game is still 6 months out. That's a lot of development time. There's a lot of time to polish things. Personally, I'm fine with them saying, hey, look, we're working on it, we're going to make sure it's good. We saw that it performed pretty well in the previews that we've seen. Of course, that's in a controlled situation, but give them 6 months, I think it's going to be in a good place. The second question we get asked a lot is about the possibility of integrating cross save and cross progression. What is your philosophy about playing it on multiple platforms? Obviously, we integrated cross play into Wilds from the start, so you can join up with your friends on other platforms and go hunting together, but the game won't support things like cross save and cross purchase. We decided to integrate features into the game to disable cross-play at any time, even when searching for a single quest, so there'll be complete freedom in terms of matchmaking. The fact is, cross-save is not a simple feature to integrate into a video game of this kind. It's really a big challenge on the technical front, but I think that compared to past titles, since this time the launch will be simultaneous on PC and console, any kind of concern will be alleviated a lot because the PC variant will arrive immediately, so everyone will be free to choose the platform they prefer. Now, this is a very interesting subject because a lot of players really do like the cross progression. I have a PlayStation 5 that I almost never touch, and if I could go jump on and continue my save and just lay in bed and maybe hunt a few monsters, that would be really nice because the PC does require you to kind of be hands-on, which is a little annoying at times. This is something that I know a lot of players want, that they're obviously not going to be able to implement in Wild because, as they said, it can be a little bit tough, but in the future I would personally like to see it because I do like, again, just jumping in bed and playing it, and seeing that we are going to be able to play it on launch all together. PC, console, doesn't really matter. We do have the freedom to choose whatever we want. It's a little unfortunate we have to pick between the two, but it's just the nature of things when it comes to gaming. Continuing on, the specific features of Wilds, Monster Hunter Wilds look like a world bigger and better, so a bigger and better version of its spiritual father. Do you want to explain the philosophy behind this chapter? Generally speaking, we never tried to look at the previous chapter to create something bigger and better. We have now changed philosophy and prefer to focus each time on a single design concept, such as the one born around the word Wilds, which, however, keeps the DNA of Monster Hunter unchanged. Taking on the role of a hunter, infiltrating a realistic ecosystem, and hunting monsters are and will always remain the key element of any Monster Hunter experience. When it comes to Wilds, we want to focus on the two sides of nature, how it can be beautiful to look at, but also wild and dangerous, and most importantly, how those two sides can switch in a matter of moments. With that in mind, we said, let's have monsters roam the map with their entire pack, which is something we've never done before. There have never been so many monsters in action at once. Let's have players explore the environment without loading screens and without interruptions, connecting the base camp and the hunting region. Basically, instead of being a bounce between loading screens, we wanted players to feel like human hunters, moving freely as part of that ecosystem. All of those concepts came together from the philosophy at the heart of Monster Hunter Wilds. And this philosophy is part of the reason why we're seeing such drastic changes compared to things in Monster Hunter World. I want to be the first to say that I'm always happy for changing games. Monster Hunter World is a legendary game. I have something like 1,000 hours into that game right now. Well, 1,000 hours on one character, and I really love the game. I love everything it did, and it did innovate the Monster Hunter series in my opinion. It looks like the vision for this game is to have a realistic Monster Hunter game, and they need to drop some of those bindings that kind of held the game down. The clunkiness that we've seen in other Monster Hunters is slowly starting to move away from, and while that may be jarring to some, I actually think this is a very healthy thing. A more open world Monster Hunter is something a lot of fans I've seen over the years say, and this is once again getting closer and closer to that with this philosophy, and I really love it. Is the choice to allow you to equip 2 weapons and change them at any time part of this philosophy? Is this a concept designed specifically for this chapter? If so, why? Absolutely. This decision was a natural consequence of the type of design we adopted for WoW, mainly because it's no longer necessary to return to base camp when a mission ends, because after that conclusion you can easily stay in the field, explore further, and search for new targets, which means that unlike the past titles where returning to the base camp gave the opportunity to achieve equipment, now we absolutely did not want players to feel forced to go back to choose a different weapon for the next monster. Having 2 weapons equipped allow hunters to be prepared for anything, any kind of possibility, whether it's the next monster to hunt seamlessly or the condition on the map have changed. Maybe the world has gone from its calmest phase to extreme weather condition that has specific elemental damage, meaning completely different monsters will appear. So it's really handy to have another weapon that offers different strategic options for any unexpected event that may arise. It was a very natural idea to integrate dual weapons into this episode, and once again, this is the philosophy I'm actually really loving. The more I'm hearing about the dev talk about it, the more I love it. Again, for me, this has always been a big dream for me to have a Monster Hunter game that was seamless, open world where you can actually just explore and just kill monsters freely. I don't hate going back to town and like getting food and all that stuff. That's cool and all. It does break up the action and gives you time to take a break, but there are a lot of times where I just want to hunt, you know what I mean? I just want to kill. But I love hunting monsters, and this is the design philosophy that actually aligns with that. Continuing on, and here comes the question, how does being able to change weapons at any time affect my overall gear loadout? I mean, I can change weapons, but what happens to my entire build, the decorations and perks I choose to use? The first very important thing to know is that the skills related to attacks, those have been defined offensive, have been moved from the pieces of armor to the weapon itself. This means that having placed them directly on the, even when you change your weapon, you find yourself with the new ones that already has been on the skill related to the attack ready. In essence, you will not find yourself with the offensive skill blocked by the equipped armor or by the weapon that has been removed. The second important issue is that we generally revise the entire system of decoration. That is, the goal is to allow for a much more flexible customization system regarding the different loadouts. Now, obviously, this is one of the more bigger things that's come out of this interview, and that is the fact that our offensive based jewels are not going to actually be tied to our gear, but it's tied to our weapon. Our gear specifically will be more defensive. Our weapon will have offensive stuff. This makes a lot more sense in like design, and seeing the fact that you're going to be swapping between weapons, it actually makes more sense as well too, because different weapons require a different setup. Once again, I'm loving what I'm hearing. The team is making a lot of sense, and in my opinion, this makes your build way more flexible. Continue on, another question that comes up is how hunting works. Now that everything happens seamlessly, for example, how will you be able to time hunts like speedrunners do now? Will there be a different way to access statistics and things like that? So creating seamless quests where you can go into open maps, attack the monster, and automatically start a new quest is not the main way or the only way to start a hunt. This is a system we designed to allow you to always stay in the world and eliminate any kind of loading and flexible approach to being able to play continuously without worrying too much about preparation. With that said, there is still the classic quest counter, that is the notice board in each settlement where you can choose a mission, and if you're in a multiplayer session, make sure everyone is ready before starting it. The traditional ready start the hunt system. So we have integrated the new system and the old one in parallel, through which it will obviously be clear the precise moment of the start and the end of a hunt, as well as the statistics that could be useful. So long story short, speedrunners, you can still do speedrunning. The seamlessness is designed to make it easier for people who want to continue to hunt, but the classic systems are still here, so speedrunners, you're good. Can we then compare the open map to the guiding lands of Monster Hunter World Iceborne? That is an ecosystem that is constantly changing, designed to stay on the hunt for a long time, and in which new monsters appear that we didn't expect to find. So at any time, you can explore the open maps that are designed to be unpredictable environments, places where the weather can change at any time, and you'll never know for sure what monster is going to appear. appear next. You can say it's a much more unpredictable and chaotic interpretation than anything we've done in the past, but that's just one of the ways you can experience the game. Let's say if instead you want to hunt a monster right away, well, you are free to approach the experience in that more traditional way. You can simply go to the quest counter and choose the related mission, but above all, you can select a particular weather condition. Players are in fact free to consult a sort of weapon forecast and let their hunt rest and let the clock hand move to that very specific moment. At that point, just like the village, you'll be able to find yourself in the exact state of the world you want. From this point of view too, we have chosen to leave the players the freedom to choose the option they prefer. This is perhaps a silly question, but now that the world and cities have changed so much, what will happen to those nice relaxing moments that we used to spend with friends in the main cities? Have they been maintained in the same way? I don't know what the hell this guy's talking about friends. I've never seen those a day in my life. In Monster Hunter Wilds, you can connect to a 16-player online lobby and all of those players will appear at the base camp at the same time, even though that base camp is directly integrated into the open world. So as always, you'll be able to visit it, meet up with your friends, chat, and take part in all of the classic social dynamic. So don't worry, those social elements are absolutely going to be part of Wilds too. So yeah, we just got confirmation there's going to be 16-player online lobbies, which is really cool. You can jump in, have some of your friends kind of help you out and do whatever else you're doing. So really cool. Moving on to weapons and other items. I know this question has nothing to do with what we've been talking about so far, but I'm really curious, have you ever thought about adding a new weapon to Monster Hunter recently? And if you have, what was the discussion like? The truth is, it's something we talk about all the time, because we've never really abandoned the idea of adding new weapon archetypes. The truth is, we have a lot of ideas that have been piling up over the years about what weapons we could add. We're always thinking about what a new weapon could add to the gameplay without overlapping too much with existing weapons without offering a similar experience. In the case of Wilds, our main philosophy was to take the 14 existing weapons and develop them a lot compared to the past through new moves and features. Cutting in here really quick, this actually does make a lot of sense. I mean, we already have 14 really solid weapons, but one thing that is very important to note about Wilds is they did add a lot of extras to the current weapons to make them feel different and more, like add more to it. So that is something that's really important to note. I think when a lot of you actually jump into Wilds, you're actually going to see that your weapon is going to have more movesets and they're going to be a little bit more fluid, especially like weapons like the Greatsword from what I can tell. And it does make a lot of sense why they didn't necessarily put a 15th weapon in. You know, it could very well be in the game for all we know. Trying out Monster Hunter Wilds here at Tokyo Game Show, we noticed that the changes to the weapon movesets were much more profound than we thought. Can you explain the new balancing philosophy? There's a core concept that we've been balancing the moveset in Monster Hunter Wilds around. We wanted to minimize the situation where the players had no viable option for what they wanted to do next. We wanted to make sure that no matter what's going on, you always have a sensible option to deal with the situation or counter that situation. And that's the overarching concept that went into the development of all weapon categories. But when we dive into the specifics of the weapon, we wanted to develop them in a way that showed off the new side of the system, offering new approaches or simply new ways to think about the moveset. Even if you're a veteran player who's very familiar with your favorite weapon, we want to get you thinking about how you might use that moveset. But all of this, and this is very important, has to add depth in a context that makes sense for a specific weapon. Ultimately, it was more important to not turn a weapon into something it's not. And once again, this makes a lot of sense. They want to develop the weapon so that they, I guess to some degree, have their own thing that they're unique and good at and not overreach, right? They don't want a greatsword to function as a ranged weapon or a ranged weapon to be the new greatsword. They want it to be good at what it does and continuously develop on that thing and make them still have options despite having some negatives or some positives of what they currently have. With that said though, that is the entire interview. This was jam-packed with a lot of information, a lot of insight, and just things that made me feel pretty excited about the game. I'm really excited about the open world and the seamlessness. That has been, again, something I really love about the Monster Hunter series, having the possibility of going in and just have this seamless, consistent hunt and just kill all the monsters we desire. And I think they're actually going to fulfill that with Monster Hunter Wilds. Will we be seeing a new weapon? Who knows, but I'm a massive fan of what the team is doing, and honestly I feel like the devs gave a really good answer to a lot of the questions. It makes a lot of sense. With that in mind though, let me know down in the comments what you think about this whole interview. Would you like to see a new weapon? What do you think about the new movesets, the open world philosophy? Are you worried about the changes? Are you for the changes? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to leave me a like because that helped me immensely, as well as subscribe for more Monster Hunter content, and I'll see you guys in the next video very soon.